So good afternoon, everybody, at least who is still here in the room. My name is Mario Sepp, and I'm the founder of a service design and business innovation company in Austria, based here in Tyrol. And today I would like to talk about business-to-business service design, which is a little bit different, I realized, than really going into the context of one customer or the customer company, the service provider. The other thing I also will show you is some real numbers, some hard stuff, because it's very often the case that if you talk to possible clients that they're saying, well, that's all fine, customer expectations, customer experience, what's one in for us? And at the end, customer experience is sometimes not the third thing on the agenda of a company. So can you show them a win-win situation? And I'm going to show you on the last slides what does it mean in hard money on savings for a company if you start a service design process. The other thing I also show you is a little bit more on the general in tourism thing, what are the experiences I have in business-to-business service design in the general tourism organizations. So what are the critical success factors? And Mark wanted to have, the failure, success factors and everything up front. And if you look to that chart, and we start from the very left, you got the service designer. And the service designer in a business-to-business situation is working at least for one of these two companies. And he has to ask himself, who is really my customer? And I think that's a really critical question. And at the end, I can tell you the solution is everybody is his customers. So you see the service designer, you see the service supplier. In that example, it's an MRO, a maintenance, repair, and overhaul company. It's the service provider, which is an airline. You're going to see it's EasyJet. And at the end, you got the consumer, the passenger. And they have completely different views on their needs. So the service designer has to ask himself, A, who's my customer? And B, he has to think about these two companies, the business-to-business situation, do their business models fit together? And I can tell you in that case, they don't. It's a legacy maintenance company meeting the number one, I would say number one beside Ryanair, low-cost carrier in Europe, completely different business models and completely different point of views. So the classical service supplier is saying, I need more revenue and profit for my customer because material costs are going up, labor costs are going up. On the other hand, the customer, here in that case, the service provider is saying, I need for my supplier lower prices because he has a learning curve. He's working with me since 2 years, for instance, and he must be more efficient in working with me. So prices have to go down, which is the complete opposite of the thinking of the service provider. So, and at the end, you got the consumer saying, I want to have fair prices. I want to say fair prices, not only the cheapest prices. So fair price and a good service to have a good customer experience. And as we learned from Dave, you want to have the guitar back, not broken. So what I found out, and I explained it now a little bit with book titles, is you start in how to eat the elephant, because it's really a huge challenge that you have to tackle. A business-to-business project is huge, and I'm going to show you that in numbers. The thing is, if you go to the service supplier, to that legacy company, it's about getting rid of waste. There's Lean Six Sigma tools and Kaizen tools, you can get rid of them, but it's really bureaucracy and corporate waste you have to get rid of before you can start that service design project. On the other hand, you will find out very quickly there's always a hidden agenda with your customers. So there's always a second thing. So customer experience not be number one, it will be cost improvements. That's at least my experience in business-to-business projects. And then you got the consumer, the passenger, and there's a book called Hidden Brain. It doesn't say he has no brain, but what does he really want? What is he really looking for? So let's start with the example of EasyJet. I think many of you maybe know EasyJet, but it's the by revenue second largest in Europe. By service, I think it's number one. It's really a low-cost airline. It's not a low-fare airline. There's a huge difference to that. Just because you buy a cheap ticket doesn't mean that the company producing it have low cost. So a lot of numbers, you can read them, but there's a colleague from us from business model included try to make their business model transparent, and they say, the core values of these companies, selling tickets and flying and selling rental cars and insurances, but the success formula, the real success formula for a low-cost airline is maximum aircraft availability and utilization. If you think of the flight of a product, it's a product with a very short expiry date. As soon as the door is closed, the product is gone. So number one is really heavy utilization of your assets. And we're talking about millions. We're talking about 210 aircraft, millions and millions of assets sitting on the ground if you're not flying. So again, magic success formula, maximum aircraft availability and utilization. But there's a problem, as always. The problem is maintenance. And I'm just talking about plant maintenance here, not about a bird flying into your cockpit window. So the issue is for the Airbus A319 and the A320, which EasyJet is flying, is that you got a lot of maintenance to do. For instance, you start with the so-called A checks. Every 600 flight hours or every 100 calendar days, whatever comes first, in EasyJet is 600 flight hours, I can tell you, you have to do an A check, which takes roughly 8 hours, but just a check, not going into the hangar, going out to the hangar. So you can do it in the night stop. Then, after 20 months or 6,000 flight hours, the aircraft will be down for 4 days. So 4 days of your million asset is sitting on the ground, not doing anything. It's like closing your hotel every time, on the high season for 4 days. That's ridiculous. And the same thing happens again after 20 months for 5 days. And the next thing, again, after 20 months for 4 days. And then after 6 years, in this 6-year period, you have a check which will just take you 19 days. A lot of days where the aircraft is not flying. Multiplied by 210 aircraft, it's a lot of aircraft hours unflown. A lot of seats not sold, a lot of beds not sold, maybe, in your case. So we were starting to think about a service design project. And service design, let me say, is more just the overall, the aggregated view. A lot of disciplines are coming into place. So 3 things, 3 clusters, so to say. I'm not going to tell you very much about that because that's the company secret. How can you get rid of the maintenance? But I'm going to show you a lot of the things down there. So the idea is increasing aircraft availability by combining endurance, so keep the aircraft flying, and precise, quick maintenance with. So keep the aircraft flying means no ground times anymore in the first 6 years. That's a huge task, and if you ask your employees, they will say no. That's why consultants are so good, because they say it depends. That's the difference. So you have to get rid of the C checks and reduce the IL checks downtime. So you have to reduce these 19 days. And that means that you have to share your knowledge as an MRO with a lot of people, and not so many people want to do that. But you have to do that, at least with the manufacturer of the aircraft and with the authorities saying that's the maintenance you can do. Then looking to precise maintenance performed as quickly as possible. Safety and quality first. That's no deal. No deal on safety, no deal on quality. The issue is you have to learn from other industries. You have to learn from Toyota, from Lean Six Sigma, how they're going to produce, how they're going to manufacture their aircraft, their cars, sorry. And the second thing is you have to learn from Formula One. It's Kaizen, what they're doing here. A lot of people in a very short time doing precise maintenance. And we're talking about seconds and hundreds of seconds. So what you have to have is be open and uncommon ideas and solutions, and you have to make the creative engineer possible, which normally is impossible. I don't know so many creative engineers. I'm an engineer on my own. But so the third thing is you have to build a holistic customer relationship management. You have to think a service as a system. It's not just the maintenance. There's a lot of things before, like coming to your hotel, reservation of the hotel, having the stay overnight, and then going away. So you have to think of service as a system, a lot more than just maintenance. And then that means that you have to embed some of your specialists in the company's, in the client's organization, which a lot of people say, well, no, there's a lot of knowledge is going then to my clients. But you have to do that. You have to be transparent. You have to give them the feeling that you take care of 210 aircraft, 365 days a year. That means you have to reduce complexity in the day-to-day business. There's a lot of transaction going on between these 2 companies I showed you before. So take out the complexity, make it easier for the staff to interact. And you have to that's an ongoing process, develop and execute sustainable cost-saving ideas. The customer, the service provider is expecting cost-saving ideas from you. It's not that you can tell him, services are getting higher and higher every year. You have to pay me. He's saying, what can you do for me to make my service that you're going to give to me cheaper? In practice, we started with the co-creation phase that everybody's known to if you're a service designer. And we had a huge project team, and we're talking about roughly 85 people here. So we had people from engineering, maintenance, ground handling. We had external experts, service design. We had 3 guys from Japan, Kaizen experts, very strange people, but very efficient people, with a lot of good questions, I can tell you. I'm going to show you afterwards. We had 2 black belts and Lean Six Sigma experts. And we had the authorities and the manufacturers on board, and also staff from EasyJet, various people from various departments. And the most costly thing we had for prototyping, we needed an empty hangar for 1 week, at least, and 2 Airbus A319. So it's not really something you normally have in a prototyping situation. So what are you going to do? First thing we made is called customer journey. In that case, you have to call it aircraft journey. So the aircraft is landing, the EasyJet aircraft is landing in Zurich-Kloten at the airport, and you think, well, it's down, it's a small airport. It takes you up to 2.5 hours to get the aircraft from the landing point to the hangar. And that's incredible, and it's really incredible. So the first thing we thought is, how can we manage that? And it's not our property, you know, it's part, here's the authority's property, and the other one is just the owner of the airport. So you have to manage a lot of things. And we made this journey, and it's a little bit light, so I hope you can see it. A lot of post-its, as you may be known to, where can we save time in bringing the aircraft from the apron to the hangar. The next thing is, normally if you bring a bigger aircraft, like an A320, A330, whatever, into the hangar, normally you need about 5 to 6 people just watching that the aircraft is not touching some tips, wing tips, or touching the hangar or everything else. So we tried something different, and we found out you can do it with 2.5. 2 actually doing something, and 1 is sitting in the office and watching some of the screens. So we just reduced just that situation by really checking that out, walking around by 58 man-hours per aircraft. 58 man-hours per aircraft. That's a lot of things. And it's just to really watch the journey of the aircraft, in that case the customer, from the apron to your hangar. The second thing we did is this prototyping. I showed you we needed an empty hangar and some aircraft, and believe me, that took us 5 days, just 5 days, to bring the aircraft in that position. Because you have to realize it's like a cookie-cutter production. 210 aircrafts all getting due more or less in a month. So they're coming in, out, in, out, in, out. And you have to have the first in, first out situation. Because we do some painting here whilst that aircraft is gone. So you have to move it out. It must be possible to move it out. So we really tried hard 5 days to position the aircraft and to use these stands to help out and getting the maintenance quicker done. So, but it's all prototype, and the first EasyJet aircraft was due in 2 years. So what are you going to do? You know, how can you test it out? That's a prototype, that's fine. We asked another airline and saying, well, would you be willing that we can try our system on your aircraft? And at the end, it costed us money. We had to do the maintenance for free, but that's really the experience you need. And this is what you see. That's a Swiss aircraft, by the way. You can't see it because the painting is away already. And here the Kaizen experts came in. And they watched us removing just these panels. You know, see these panels all around? And we just removed these panels. 4 people removed one of these panels. 460 screws to unscrew. And it weighs around 82 to 90 kilos. And this Japanese guy asked us, what are you doing here? 4 people are blocked just with descrewing. All your engineers are blocked with removing some screws. And then he said he forced us to make a prototype of a stand. So we had a stand. First thing was a wooden stand, which just fixed the panel. 1 guy was rescrewing it and even put it down and brought it to the shop. So 5 guys can do 5 panels now, instantly. You save massive time, really massive time. And these are things, you know, you can just, it's very difficult to do that in prototyping. You really have to do it on an aircraft. So, as a matter of fact, instead of already speeding up all these processes, we have been really very successful to, you maybe remember this IL check, 19 days. If you also paint the aircraft, so depainting and painting the aircraft, it takes you 21 days. We came out with 14 days. We went to the customer and said, listen, you're going to expect 21 days downtime for the IL check, we give you 14. And he was pretty amazed. On the other hand, what we did, which is even the same as difficult, because engineers are difficult, but all the other people still have a lot of needs, 3 minutes, thank you, in the daily interaction. So we built up an embedded customer care team, which took away, you know, from all these touch points between the MRO and the airline, we took away the anger. So we said, if there's something, a need for escalation, throw it back. We're going to escalate it with you later, even, you know, between the 2 CEOs if necessary. But don't bring anger in the day-to-day business. And we started with a new custom internet portal. That's very new for that kind of industry. So aviation industry in that regard might be very good in some aspects, but it's slow here. So the customer was able to watch his aircraft maintenance, you know, like online videos, seeing all the documentations. He was able to present that to the authorities all the time. He's seen everything checked out, so that's really a huge increasement. So to make it easy, this is the secret part. We equalized the maintenance. So no maintenance, no night stop, nothing longer than a night stop in the first 6 years. All the maintenance in the first 6 years was done during night stop. So EasyJet never lost any flying hour out of that. So you have to think minimum downtime over 6 years, 14 days instead of 32 in total. Minimum planning complexity. You have to think about planning 210 aircraft. It's all gone. And the maximum financial planning transparency, because you have to bring up a lot of cash, and I can tell you we're talking about billions of US dollars here. So what was the project completed? So what's the benefit for everybody, for the service provider? What's the benefit for the service supplier, for the consumer? Look, that's a balance sheet that's something from the shareholder presentation they give. We saved them 22% maintenance costs per year. That's much customer experience. Customer experience is fine. But if you can tell the CEO, look, I saved you 22% of your maintenance budget, he said, I love you. Go on with that. That's really something. A service designer has to bring up, customer experience, no complaining, whatever, into real cash, into real money. And we increased the aircraft availability, like having 2 virtual aircraft more in the fleet. That's a lot of asset you have. For best service provider, not for best maintenance company. That's just about capabilities. Our competitors have been catering companies and transportation companies. So we won best service provider. And we won also a new 10-year contract for 1.6, which is nice for us too. So and the consumer, they really had low-cost flight with care and convenience. I think that's the difference to the Ryanairs of the world, saying you get a low-cost flight, but the rest we don't care. And very short, last slide to you, is just what does that mean for the tourism industry in general? If you look to a business-to-business project for the tourism association, for instance, which is very common, a lot of tourism association people are here in that room also. The thing is, as a service designer, you have to think, okay, again, who's my customer? I can tell you it will be the guest at the end also. But the issue is, how can we reach a shared view of the problem? Because if you look to the service supplier, the tourism association, they're saying, well, all stakeholders have to execute on our destination strategy. Regardless if you're a hotel or restaurant, whatever, you have to execute on a destination strategy. Because we are thinking tourism strategy, we are the experts. The individual hotelier is saying, well, I don't care. I need good guests, paying guests, not bus tourists. I need good guests. And that's because I pay a tourism fee. Every tourist is coming to my place, I have to pay you a fee. So bring me more tourists. And you got the leverage of that to do that. And at the end, the customer is saying again, I would like to have that experience. I don't care, about your fights. So you have to keep in mind that it's for a service designer in the tourism industry, business to business. I guess getting to yes without giving in is a good book for that. It's really, you have to establish a shared view between these two parties. And it's completely different. With a lot of experience, hotels have a different view than a tourism authority. Completely different. And restaurants are even worse. So they're going to tell you how a hotel is working. If you come there and say, we need the money, it's fine that you have a strategy, but the strategy does not pay off on me. Maybe it pays off on the large chains, I don't know, sorry for that, but it doesn't pay off for the individual hotelier. So you have to come to a shared view what the problem is. And I think also the tourist is changing. He would like to have sustainability, eco-tourists. So this is what I learned out of that. So I think in one word or in one sentence, you can say, exceptional customer experience do not arise by chance. This is, maybe you have some interaction points which might work well because you got a nice guy there, but a holistic experience does not come by chance. And it's very important in business-to-business projects that you're going to tell your client what's the financial impact on that project. Customer experience alone is not enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you.